everybody, and welcome back to the Cue the Chat podcast. My name is Phil Lynch, and on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the German Masters. We're going to be talking about Karen Wilson and Barry Hawkins and how they got to the final of the German Masters. We're going to be talking about its coverage on WST Play. I had a look a couple of times on there, used the VPN, to try and see what the coverage was like on there. We're going to be talking about the Championship League Winners Group that's on today and tomorrow, and we're also going to be talking about some controversial opinions on snooker that ChatGPT has come up with for me, and I'm going to be telling you what I think about them. So, without further ado, let's get into today's podcast. And so we are going to start today by actually welcoming you back for another podcast a week after the last one. That hasn't been happening very often. And you're listening to me on a brand new microphone. I'm after getting those ones that clip onto your t-shirt, like the ones they use on TV, but this one's a bit bulkier and it's Bluetooth. But it sounds really bad when I clip it onto my t-shirt. So it's actually just clipped onto a JBL speaker, which I'm holding in my hand. But yeah, it just makes it easier. I don't think there's a huge pile of difference in terms of audio quality, but it means that my phone is freed up a bit for if I want to look up something quickly and all that, because for the last while I've been just recording it off my phone's mic, and then I have to send it up to the cloud, then I have to bring it over to my laptop, edit it there, send it back to the cloud so that I can upload it off of my phone onto Spotify and things. And it's just been a pain in the hole. But this one actually connects onto my laptop through a USB-C port on the side. And yeah, it's really good. So I think this is going to be the way that we're going to be doing it from now on. Just like that. So yeah, we're going to start off today's episode by talking about Karen Wilson and how he has won the recent German Masters. It was only 2 days ago when he won that. Yeah, we're going to have a look at how he made it to the final. Now, my computer is going to be a little bit laggy now because it's also recording the podcast. But sure, look at. So what can we do? He started off in the last 64 against I can never pronounce this guy's name. Chuang Kao Wei. He's from Hong Kong. Karen beat him 5-3. I believe that was on one of the outside tables. I believe, because I remember thinking, okay, it's a bit weird. Then we move on to Zhou Yulong, who he beat 5-3. Jack Jones, a repeat of the 2024 World Championship Final. Karen beat him 5-3. Then Anthony McGill, he beat him in a deciding frame. Anthony actually was ahead for all of that match. Karen Wilson never went ahead except for the final frame. It went 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 3-all, 4-3, 4-4, and then Karen Wilson beat him 5-4. Now, I know that was a big game. Was Aaron Hill on maybe at the same time on one of the outside tables? I thought the outside tables looked a lot nicer than the actual main table, because it looked true to how snooker tables are, because oftentimes on the Eurosport coverage they look quite small. Like the first time I saw a snooker table, like an actual one, after watching snooker on TV for years, I was like, whoa, this thing is massive. But because they look the size of a pool table on the TV. So these are more of an accurate representation of what a snooker table actually looks like, and you're able to see it a bit better. It's the same on the World Championship coverage, because the BBC don't have to be, or they actively try and avoid showing sponsorship and everything on the TV. So yeah, I've been watching the outside tables for most of the week, but we're going to move on to the semi-final. Zhao Gudong against Karen Wilson. Gudong kind of tried to blast Karen off the table, and it didn't work for him. Karen was 3-1 up at the interval, and the one that Zhao Gudong had was just the frame before the interval, so Karen was 3-0 up. There was only really going to be one winner of that match, really. Karen wasn't playing blistering snooker, but he's been playing pretty well all week. You have to admit, he has been playing pretty well. And of course, in the final, he beat Barry Hawkins 10-9, nail biting decider. Um, what more is there to say about that? And I mean, the walk on that Karen Wilson did, um, was superb. I mean, that was for the second session of that final. I thought it was great. I mean, there's not enough of that in snooker. Like, it's all walk on, very polite, don't say anything, give a bit of a wave to the crowd if you're feeling it. Some people just ignore the crowd altogether. I thought it was great. It felt a bit darts. I don't mind that. I'm very much partial to a bit of darts myself. Yeah, it was great. I honestly thought the walk on was great. And when I saw it happen, I thought maybe he was, because Karen Wilson did that one year, didn't he? He was talking about it the other week. I can't remember where I saw it. He said that Brandon Parker, the man who the trophy is named after, his old manager, told him to go out there, give it the big one, and then he got down and he couldn't play a shot, and he lost 6-0 against Stephen Maguire. I was worried that jeez, the voice crack. I was worried something like that might happen to Karen Wilson, but it didn't. And fair play to him. He lived up to it, and he won 10 frames to 9. Now, the final did go on a bit late. I think the session times could definitely be altered. Did I talk about it last week? If I didn't, I certainly intended to. The session times are still a little bit weird. Do you know what I mean? Like 3 o'clock and 8 o'clock local time start is strange, especially for people going in watching. Um, you know, can you imagine that happening in the UK? Or yeah, in the UK I was about to say, or in Ireland, but we've no tournaments over here. Like they've a 10 o'clock morning start, which is fine. They could push it back to 9 and then start the afternoon session at 2, 1 o'clock here, because then this is the way then that they'd be doing it. It's all the same as it would be over if they were watching a tournament from over here. And then, like, if you're starting at 1, then you can start an hour early. So it starts at 6 here and 7 over there. And then, because a lot of the matches, the ones that weren't one sided, because there were a lot of one sided matches, let's be honest. The ones that aren't one sided, then they can be over before nearly everyone's waking up the next morning. Yeah, I just thought it was a bit weird the way they were doing that, but it worked. I mean, I'm sure they didn't get in the crowds that they were hoping for at the start of the week. The crowds were a little bit sorry at the start of the week, but I mean, it's a pretty big auditorium at the same time. I'm sure that it's a lot more than they're getting for the Scottish Open anyway. But it just looked a bit empty just purely because the arena is so big. I mean, when you're looking at the final and you're watching the walk-ons, the the crowd go on for miles and miles and miles and miles. So yeah. Anyway, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there. I'd meant to talk about that later on, but yeah, just while we're on it, we'll talk about Barry Hawkins in a few minutes. I thought the coverage of the outside tables, I think it looked really well. Like on table 2, they had the camera along the side, and I thought that was very well. I thought it was utilized very well. Sometimes the cameras, the secondary cameras on the outside tables, they can sometimes be a little underused or put in a bit of a weird place, like watching the Championship League right now. When they go to a camera shot on the left or right, for the corner pockets, they're never aligned in a way that you'd actually be down the line of a shot. They're kind of in the middle of the two, which I guess is fair enough that you're able to get some sort of action from both. But like, I feel like if you just the if you lined it up for the black, I think that it would be good. If you lined it up for a black off the spot, so you'd be able to see it go in dead, I think that would be great, because sometimes the outer camera shots, they can be a bit, just the way they're positioned, they can be a bit nowhere. But like at the same time, we're getting coverage, we're getting like actual production value on the table too. So I mean, that you wouldn't, 5 or 10 years ago, you wouldn't even be watching table 2. They wouldn't have it. So look, it's not a criticism. It's just something that I think that they could improve on a small bit. But we're gonna move on to Barry Hawkins, because I'm just rambling away here now. So he, where am I? Yeah, so in Last 64, he beat Alfie Burden 5-4. He was ahead for the whole match, but Alfie Burden was certainly on his coattails. As I just take a sip of water. Natalia Gradinari was the referee there. I just wanted to say something on her. I thought her refereeing was great all week. She's actually refereeing the match that's on my TV now, Karen Wilson against Si Hui. She is Vladislav Gradinari's mother. I'm sure a lot of you would have known that, but some of you wouldn't have. The young, he's played in the shootout a couple of times. He's a great young player. I think he's going to do great things. But yeah, Natalia Gradinari was refereeing that match. Then we move on to the last 32. He beat Ben Wallison. I didn't actually see any of that match. They referenced it a couple of times on comms, but I didn't watch any of the match. He had a walkover then against Ricky Walden. I was really looking forward to that match. It was a 9 o'clock start. On was it Thursday? It was on, yeah, it's quarterfinal Friday. Yeah, I was looking forward to that match. But instead it was Alexander Ursenbacher against, it was one of the Chinese boys. I can't remember which one. Was it Wu Yiza? It might have been Wu Yiza actually. That went on table one. It was not something that would excite me. Although he did play well, Ursenbacher, throughout the week. He gave it a bit of a. I'll try start that again. He gave it a bit of a big one. At the end of his match against Ali Carter. The words are slowly starting to come back to me. But yeah, I thought Ursenbacher played well all week, and but it wasn't really a match that excited me. Barry Hawkins got the walkover over Ricky Walden. Ricky Walden was hospitalized while he was over there. The life of me, I can't remember what was wrong with him. But I remember Barry Hawkins saying on Instagram that he kind of he prepared as he usually would, but he kind of knew that he wouldn't be playing, and then he got the phone call from WST then that evening. And then Barry Hawkins played against Wu Yiza. He beat him 5-3 in the quarterfinals. Yeah, and then he played Yuan Sijun in the semifinals. Both semifinals pretty one-sided. Olivier Martil refereeing that one, and then the final, of course, he lost out to Karen Wilson by 10 frames to 9. Now, I have down on my sheet here, we're going to talk about the coverage on WST Play. Now, I watched bits on WST Play. I have a feeling that might be where I go for my snooker at the end of the month, because I pay for my I pay for my VPN subscription anyway, so I just put myself in America and it works fine. The coverage was really good, to be fair. There was you were able to see they did referee walk-ons when they got down to the one table. I thought those were superb. Like they did the full thing. They put them up where the players were. They brought them down. The final, I think she got her own song, but they did the sort of thing they do for the sort of song they do for the second or third round of a Home Nations event. Though, boom. Oh, whoa, whoa, boom, 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 boom. That song, boom, 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 boom. Anyway, but yeah, I thought that those were superb. You didn't get that on the Eurosport feed. But I did think those walk-ons were amazing. But the walk-ons for the players that you did see on Eurosport, they were superb as well. I mean, what an atmosphere that place must generate. I don't think that some of whoever produces the coverage with the kind of the red scoreboard and WST in the corner. The sound quality is always pretty terrible. The arena sound quality, anyway. I mean, I don't know. They're trying to do something there that they can't manage with the equipment they have. They're trying to make it, I don't know, maybe immersive or something, but it just ain't working. For me, it just ain't working anyway. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up slightly. And just the content on WST is really good. On Sunday, I watched about an hour and a half of the 2001 UK Championship final. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I'd never seen it. Don't spoil it for me. I don't know the outcome, and I've had to refrain so hard from looking it up. But it doesn't seem to be in the Triple Crown winning matches collection for Ronnie O'Sullivan, and Ken Doherty's playing in it. That's why I started watching it. I was just trying to find some sort of a final that Ken Doherty played in. But yeah, so that's basically all I have to say about the German Masters. I thought it was very good. The crowd, I think the crowd was decent. It just looked poor. It's similar to what was it, the Tour Championship 2 years ago? Like there was plenty of people in for like there was the same amount of people in as you'd have in a home nations event, which is not really what they're going for. If for the Tour Championship anyway, they want that to be a big main show. It's the Masters for the 1 year list instead of the 2 year list. Um, but yeah, but the arena is perfect for one table, but for seven, I don't know. It just seemed a bit flat. Like there were, I heard there were people in the audience with binoculars. Like that's something. That's something different. Actually, ooh. Before we move on, I just wanted to go through Aaron Hill's. I'm so sorry. I don't know how loud this is going to be. This coughing is going to be on the recording. But as I say, I'm not doing any editing. The editing can go away. Um, Aaron Hill. I thought that he was playing very well all week. He didn't play well in his quarter final against Xiao Guodong. But other than that, he played really well. I mean, his match that he played against Stan Moody to qualify, he won 5-4, and he was behind for a decent portion of that match at least. That was played on the 17th of December last. He won that one 5-4, and then the match against Mark Williams. The reason that I started following him all tournament, really, if he was ever playing, except his game, was it against? I wanted to say it was like Robbie Williams or something like that. Was it him or Jimmy Robertson, the bloody one, Jimmy Robertson? That match I wanted to watch. That was on table 7. They didn't have table 6 and 7, or 5, 6, and 7 on Eurosport. They also didn't, or Discovery Plus, whatever. They also didn't have it on WST Play. I'd say it was just the same kind of crack that they were doing for both. Yeah, I'd say it is just going to be the same coverage. I'm flipping over and back, but for the WST Play thing, the last thing I wanted to say was that there's nothing that can be done about this, and I don't think there is anything that they should do about this. But I'm just going to point it out: is that a lot of the times they, like during the breaks between frames or at the start or at the end, the commentators do refer to graphics that you can't see on WST Play. They're only Eurosport are putting them up, but they're not on the live feed. I don't think you can do anything about it, and I think if you could, I don't think it's worth the money to employ somebody to I don't know, cut out the commentary or whatever. It was just something that I picked up on, that they were saying that, they you could see they started playing the boom 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 that music. I think that's called, is it called Roll With It or something? I have it on Spotify. I might pull it up. Whatchamacallit? They where am I going with this? Oh yeah, they'd have that and you could hear it and you're like, come on, and they were like, and this is how they got to the final. I'm like, why are they playing this music so early? But anyway, it's just yeah, so it's just a minor thing, and it's not something that anybody can do anything about. Now I found it. Have I? Have I found it? Yeah, it's here. It's called Roll With It. Turn the music up and let it bang. When we hit the lane, you got to get above the way. When we going in, we be going all day. And we ain't coming out until we get our victory. What you say now? Feel it, we don't feel it to the ceiling. This is it. Just when they're playing it on the TV, they take the words out. But this is the song. Here we go. Hang up in the it's the same music that they use for the darts intro on Sky Sports. But yeah, it's called Roll With It by SATV Music. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube as well. But make sure you don't go for the Oasis Roll With It, because they're two very different songs. Anyway, we're talking about Aaron Hill. Jesus Christ. Yes, Aaron Hill. He played against Mark Williams, and he won that one 5-2. What a match! What a match played by Aaron Hill. Because it's not like the world number 4 was playing bad. He wasn't playing like unreal amazing stuff, but Aaron Hill certainly deserved that victory. I mean, what a match. Then we move on to, yes, the match with Jimmy Robertson. I couldn't watch that. I really wanted to. I was trying to find all the Chinese or janky sites. I was trying everything to watch it. I couldn't watch it. His match against Tom Ford, he was 4-0 up in that one. I thought it was a bygone conclusion. I think I stopped watching for a while, and then I threw it back on, and Tom Ford was like 5-2. I was like, what? And Tom Ford was in. But anyway, he managed to close it out from 5-3. Good Aaron Hill, and then he got trounced in the quarterfinal. I mean, he didn't make a break over 50. Points scored 46. Average points per frame 9.2 compared to 91.2 for Zhao Gudong. It was, yeah, it was poor, to be fair, but it was a great run nonetheless. He there was the pressure of him trying to get through to his first ever semi-final against a man who's made it to 2 finals this season and won a ranking event. So I mean, there's no shame in it. It's just the way that he did it. He was he 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 could have done with a frame. The scoreline ain't pretty, but yeah, that's all I have to say about the German Masters. I hope, because I'm the kind of guy to come up with something in the middle of our next topic. But our next topic is the Championship League winners group. I'm watching it right now. What a shot Karen's just played. Karen Wilson versus Si Jiahui is the match that is on at the moment for me, and that's the not before 5 p.m. game. So the players in the winners group are Judd Trump, Zhao Gudong, Mark Selby, Si Jiahui, Hossein Vafai, Karen Wilson, and Matt Selt. And as I record, this is about 7:05 on Tuesday, the 4th of February. Judd Trump has played 3 and won 3 games, so he's on 3 points. Zhao Gudong has played 3 games, won 1 and lost 2, so he's on 1 point. And everybody else has played 2 games, won 1, lost 1. So basically, everybody's on 1 point except for Judd Trump, who's on 3, and Matt Selt, who is on 0. Yeah, it's a little bit worrying for Zhao Gudong, because although he is on the same amount of points as everyone, he has played 1 additional match. So he's kind of, how would you say, he's on the back foot for the next little while, but there's still time to turn it around. I mean, there's 4 to 5 matches on each table. There's going to be 5 on one, 4 on the other, between now and the semi-finals and finals. That is on tomorrow. I'll run you through the results that I have so far. So Judd Trump beat Si Jiahui 3-1, and Mark Selby 3-2 this afternoon. Then Si Jiahui beat Zhao Gudong 3-2, and I believe the session overran. So I was watching about 20 past 25 past 4. The next session was meant to start at 4:30, and they were still in the deciding frame. So I'd say it was the 4:30 game was probably pushed back a small bit, but Judd Trump won that against Zhao Gudong, and Karen Wilson is currently 2-1 down against Si Jiahui. The benefits now of having my phone, I'm able to go on YouTube and see what the score is, because they don't have live scoring, or maybe they do on the app actually, but they don't have live scoring on the Championship League website, which is the one I'm using. At the moment, yeah, Matt Selt is 2-1 up on Mark Selby, but Mark Selby's at the table. There's also qualifying going on this week, isn't there, for the Welsh Open? We could have a look at that actually in a few minutes after we go through this. I forgot about that because I've been so focused on the Championship League. So this morning on table 2, Zhao Gudong thrashed Karen Wilson 3-0. Hossein Vafai beat Matt Selt 3-0. Karen Wilson beat Matt Selt 3-0. And just now, Mark Selby beat Hossein Vafai 3-0. So they've all been 3-0s so on table 2 all day. There's still a lot of matches to go, though. To be fair, they've only played This is only the fifth match on both tables, so we're basically on the 10th match of the group, and everyone's playing everyone at least once. So yeah, there's still plenty to go. My tips for the who are going to be in the final is going to be probably Judd Trump. I would say on current form, Kyron Wilson. Hossein Rafai, I haven't seen him play in a while. But I'd tip him and Mark Selby. Hossein Rafai, I'm not sure about his form. I think that it's definitely going to be Judd Trump and Kyron Wilson that are going to go through to the winners group, and then two of the three of Hossein, Sijahui, and Selby. Probably that's what I'm going to go with. That's what I think will happen. But now, I forgot that this was even happening. But there's qualifiers on Welsh Open. We'll have a look at some of the results from the three sessions so far. So Rhian Evans has qualified. Go on, Rhian. She's beaten Julian Leclerc 4-1. I mean, what a game that would have been if I'd remembered that these qualifiers were on, for God's sake. Louis Heathcote beat the Northern Irishman Robbie McGuigan 4-1. Stan Moody is through. Ollie Lines is through. Oh, the guy whose name I can't pronounce from India. His name is Kirish. I'm going to go with Krish Gurbayani, and that's just what I'm going to stick with. He lost in a decider to Liam Pullen. See if there's any other exciting matches that stand out. 1 second. Ishpreet Singh Chadha battering Bypass Sirapaporn 4-0. And Joshua Cooper, the amateur, I believe he's related in some way to Sean Murphy. He's had a walkover against Alex Ursenbacher. I don't know if they'll try and find a new opponent for Joshua Cooper. Hamid Mia's had a walkover over Huang Gai Hao. I think he played in Germany, but that's the only time I've ever heard of that guy. And Stuart Carrington had a walkover against Bai Yu Lu, so 3 walkovers so far. But we'll have a look at some of the upcoming matches for the Welsh Open. Bulshku Reves, the who did I call him? I call him the Kimi Antonelli of snooker. Yeah, he's playing against Anton Kazakov at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Ben Mertens is playing against Simon Blackwell. Rory Thor, the good man. I'm a fan of Rory Thor. He's playing the amateur Riley Powell. One of the female players, Mink Nutcherud, is playing against Andrew Paget. My fellow countryman, Ken Doherty, the number 117 in the world, is playing against Gong Shenzi. Who else is playing tomorrow? Marco Fu is playing. He's playing against Jonas Luth. Joe O'Connor against Rhian Evans. What? Oh, so there's second round. Alright, so there's 2 rounds of qualifying. Oh, very good. Yeah, Rhian Evans is playing again against Joe O'Connor tomorrow. Who else was? Oh, Dominic Dale against Mitchell. Man, that'll be a good game. Another amateur, Dylan Emery, is going to be playing against Lei Pei Fan. I'll pick up this microphone again. Graham Ollie Lines could be a good game. Stan Moody against Anthony Hamilton. Now, that's really that match. If that's finished by next week, I'll be surprised. Yeah, so Josh Cooper is going to be playing against Ben Wollaston. Yeah, so there's some great. Oh, Aaron Hill is going to be playing in the second round against either Rory Thor or Powell. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. Yeah, so there's plenty of snooker going on. I mean, how I forgot about the qualifiers, I'll never know. But we're going to get down to the meat of the episode now. And that is that I have asked ChatGPT to give me some controversial opinions on snooker. So here is what ChatGPT had to say. Here are a few controversial opinions on professional snooker that some fans and pundits have debated over the years. So here's the first one. Ronnie O'Sullivan's dominance hurts the sport. While many see him as the GOAT, some argue that his overwhelming dominance, combined with his often negative comments about snooker, overshadows other talented players and discourages newcomers. Right. So Ronnie O'Sullivan's dominance, I don't think he's ever really had like a full period of dominance like the likes of Stephen Hendry. But yes, many do see him as the goat. I see him as the goat. Um, yeah, his any period of dominance he's had has never negatively impacted the sport. It's his comments. Like I've never read his comments as an outsider, and because I've known, like I knew snooker before Ronnie O'Sullivan, which I think is kind of like the opposite for many people. But I just started watching snooker, and I was like, "Oh, this Ronnie O'Sullivan guy's pretty cool. Oh, look what he's done." Um, but I think his negative comments do slightly, um, and they do impact the sport a small bit. I don't think it overshadows talented players, and I do not think that it discourages newcomers. I think quite the opposite. I think when people play, that that people play because they've seen him. Like I saw online, there was a guy doing a tier list of watchable sports on TV, and he said that snooker was only watchable when Ronnie O'Sullivan is playing. I don't like. I'm sure there's a lot of people who think that, and I don't think that him playing well can hurt the sport in that aspect. All right. The second one that ChatGPT has said is that the game is too slow and needs a shot clock. Purists love the tactical aspect of snooker, but some believe the sport is too slow for modern audiences and should introduce a universal shot clock, not just in events like the snooker shootout. No, thank you, ChatGPT. No, it's okay. We're okay without a shot clock. I mean, I guess you could do some more events with like a 30-second shot clock. Like I'm not a cricket man, so I might get this wrong, but the 100 is like the snooker shooter. Then we could do like T20, which would be like 30-second shot clock, maybe like they do in the 9 ball pool. Just a couple of events, and then keep like the test match stuff, like or ooh, an idea has just come into my head. We could make give a few more tournaments like major status, and make them like the test matches, so we can have the World Championships, the UK Championships, the Masters, maybe the German Masters. We could. What else would be a big enough tournament? At least two in China. Um, I think that we maybe keep the tournaments from the home nations, but maybe disband the home nations bracket and make half of them, um, what you call it? Make half of them the big tests, the majors, and then have everything else be 30-second shot clock, and then we could have two or three, maybe more shootout events. I think that caters to all audiences, really, doesn't it? I mean, I'm just spitballing here. I came up with this about 4 seconds ago, but I'd have to think too much into it. But at the moment, I think snooker is perfect the way it is. I think that most of the appeal of snooker is actually that it hasn't changed in so many years. Like for the older generations, people who've stuck around, um, a lot of the appeal of it is actually that it's still been the same sport for however long it's been on TV, like 45, 50 years. Do you know what I mean? Um, so the third one is that ChatGPT gave me, and a reminder that these are all um, controversial opinions that ChatGPT has given me. Prize money distribution is unfair. Lower ranked players struggle financially due to how prize money is distributed. Some argue the gap between top players and the rest is too wide, making it hard for emerging stars to survive. Now, a couple of years ago, I would have wholeheartedly agreed with this. But all the players on the World Snooker Tour, as of I think it's last season, earned €20,000 or £20,000. Sorry, um, so that is prize money is distributed unevenly, I would say, but that's very much. I think you need that because if if you don't offer huge prizes for the top for making it to final semi-finals, some of the players who already have the deep legacy won't be won't be striving for the titles. You know, they'll be happy with a quarter final, a semi final. You need to have the peak of the sport be the top, be the pinnacle. Do you know what I mean? You can't make going out in the fourth round too lucrative, if you know what I mean. Uh, I'm just gonna look up how much 20,000 pounds to euros is. It's 24k. 24,000 euro is about 2 grand, 2,000 euro a month, which is about livable if you're on your own. And I mean, if you're with somebody else who's also working, I mean that should in theory be fine. You wouldn't be getting a mortgage off of it, but it'd be okay. I mean, you could distribute it a little bit better down the rankings, but I think for the most part, the way you have it is fine. Um, so number 4, China will eventually dominate the sport. With a growing number of elite Chinese players, many believe the UK's dominance in snooker is fading. Others argue that the UK will always be the heart of the sport. Right. I believe, yeah, well, I kind of agree with all of it. Because I do believe that the Chinese players will start to dominate. There are a lot of elite Chinese players, and I believe that the dominance of snooker in the UK is fading. But I believe that the UK will always be the heart of the sport because it's like it's where the most people are watching from. I think I should think that there's still a very large viewership, but the level of snooker player maybe isn't coming, or maybe it's the same level, but the bar has been raised a bit. Is So yeah, I kind of agree with all of it. Like the wording of it means that I agree with all of it. All right, number 5. Just by reading the headline, big no, thank you. The World Championship format is outdated. While many see the long format at the Crucible as a true test, others think it's too grueling and could be modernized with shorter matches. Not a hope in hell. You're going to destroy the World Championships if you even consider that, because that's like the World Championships has been the same test since 1977. Every world champion has gone through the same test in the same place. That's why I don't think that the World Championship should leave the Crucible, because since 1977, since the first world champion was crowned back in 1997, they have had to do the same thing as Karen Wilson has had to do in 2024. Every single world champion has had to do the same thing. John Spencer, Ray Reardon, Terry Griffiths, Cliff Thorburn, Steve Davis, Alex Higgins, Dennis Taylor, Joe Johnson, Stephen Hendry, John Parrott, Ken Doherty, John Higgins, Mark Williams, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Peter Ebdon, Sean Murphy, Graham Dott, Neil Robertson, Mark Selby, and Judd Trump, Luca Purcell, and Karen Wilson have all faced the same test with the players of their generation. They have all had to play first round best of 19, second round best of 25, third round best of 25, semi-final best of 33, and final best of 35. Everybody who I have just listed off there has had to do the same thing. If you change the format, it's a different tournament. You know, they're not the same world champion as all of the rest of them. And that's why I think that everything should stay the same. Because it's been the same test for the last, how many, 1977 to 2025? That's nearly 50 years. It's been the same test for all of that time. I could go off on a tangent about this all week, but I know you have things to be doing with your lives. So I'm going to move on to number 6, and it's the women's snooker should be fully integrated. Some believe female players should compete in the same ranking events as men, arguing that snooker is not a physical sport where strength is an advantage. Others think the separate tours are necessary. Alright, so I think that for now, a women's tour is necessary to try and develop some more women's players, because they've had a pretty big disadvantage for years. I mean, they haven't been able to a lot of places where there's snooker tables, like working men's clubs and a lot of snooker clubs even, didn't allow women inside for years and years. So I believe that the women are at a bit of a disadvantage. That the women's game isn't. I feel like I'm just speaking really fast for no reason. The women's game hasn't had a chance to develop as much as the men's game. So I think for the next few years there should be a women's tour. But I think, definitely in my lifetime, that the women's tour should be done away with, and that there should just be a fully integrated snooker tour. That there should be no women's and men's. That it should all just be the same. That's pretty plain and simple. Number 7, Mark Selby's style is bad for the game. Selby is a 4-time champion, but his slow defensive style frustrates some fans who prefer attacking play. Others see him as a tactical genius. Well, my favourite player when I started watching snooker was Mark Selby. I've gone off him in the last few years because there's been so many players who've come along and just smashed the place to bits, putting in big breaks and all this kind of crack. But when I started watching it, what was it, 8 years old? Mark Selby had just won the world championship, and he was my idol for a few years. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's bad for the game at all. I mean, if at 8 years old Mark Selby can whatchamacallit, that can be what draws me into snooker. I think that any that it can be bad for the game, because a lot of this thing that this slow pace frustrates fans. That's People think that newer fans, the younger generation, that they have no attention span. We just we just have no attention span for things that we don't like. And I mean, if you don't like snooker, you're not gonna be able to watch Mark Selby play all day. But for someone like me, who's like, my views on snooker are like a 50-year-old man who's been watching since he was 4 years old. You know, I love snooker and I love the way he plays. I just can't watch it all the time, But if I'm trying to relax, I mean, he's excellent, because the matches go on forever. I mean, you could definitely fall asleep to one of his matches. I love a bit of tactical play, but I do kind of have to be in the mood for it. So Mark Selby, I'm not always in the mood for, as opposed to Judd Trump, who I am always in the mood for because he's so exciting to watch. Now we're going to move on to number 8, and it's a topic that I don't know a whole pile about. It's the Snooker Hall of Fame. Um, I knew that there was one, but I didn't think that it was like an actual. I didn't know that people were so passionate about it. ChatGPT says the Snooker Hall of Fame is too exclusive. Some think legends like Jimmy White and Ding Junhui deserve recognition despite never winning a world title, while others argue that only champions should be included. I mean, the Hall of Fame, it's all the Hall of Fame. You know, it should be a mixture of achievement and how much they're how they're perceived in snooker, because I mean, Jimmy White, Ding Junhui, they should definitely be in there for what they did for snooker. Jimmy White, he attracted so many people to the sport because the way he played was just absolutely superb. Like that Massey shot that goes around every now and again that he played, like that was a superb shot. If you haven't seen it, just look up Jimmy White Massey. Like, what a shot! And Ding Junhui, he has brought an entire country into having snooker as basically a religion. I mean, it's taught in Chinese schools now. And there's so many tournaments in China, and I think we can put that 85% down to Ding Junhui. So I can't see why neither of them should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, of course, barring those two, I can't think of any people who aren't world champions who should be going in there. Really and truly. Yeah, but I don't think you have to be a world champion to be in there, or you shouldn't have to, in my opinion. Right. Our next, number 9, we're almost there. We only have 10. Stephen Hendry's prime was better than Ronnie O'Sullivan's. While O'Sullivan is often seen as the greatest, some argue Hendry's peak, dominating in the 1990s, was more impressive due to the level of competition and his winning mentality. I don't think it's more impressive because of his level of competition and winning mentality. I just think that Ronnie O'Sullivan never had a prime, if you know what I mean. Like, Stephen Hendry's was kind of a curve. He came in, he did really well, and then whoop, and then he was down on the floor. Whereas with Ronnie O'Sullivan, he came in, blew everyone away. He's had peaks and troughs, but I think that Ronnie O'Sullivan has managed to hold it together. He hasn't dominated. He's managed to hold the whole show together for, what is it, 30 uh, 5 years now, class of 92, 02, 12, 22. So that's 33 years that he's managed to hold it together for, where Stephen Hendry only managed about 10 years before he fell off. So I think that Stephen Hendry's prime was better, but only because Ronnie O'Sullivan didn't have a specific prime. Like, if his head wasn't like stopping him from it, he'd still be at the top of his game today at 50 something, whereas Stephen Hendry barely made it past 30. So I mean, yeah, not that I saw Stephen Hendry's prime at all. I wasn't alive, or but you know what I mean. That's just how I see it. Now the final one is number 10, the most controversial, it appears, from the 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 headline, but I think that I've already covered it. The Crucible should no longer host the World Championship. Many see the Crucible as sacred, but some think snooker has outgrown the small venue and should move to a larger, more modern location. Not a hope. I've read out all of the world champions who have done what every other world champion. All the world champions have done the same thing in the same place. They've had the same test. I've gone through this. The Crucible is part of that test because, shut up, computer. I don't know if you heard that. Whatchamacallit? Yeah, because it's a challenge up until the semi-finals. Just space trying to get down on your shot. There's no space. Do you know what I mean? And then once you get down to the one table, then you have 980 people, all still up pretty close, mind, all staring down, and you're walking in the footsteps of so many great players. Every grade of snooker has graced the same place, graced the same carpet that you're standing. And I mean, it's just, do you know what I mean? It's just, if it moves, it's the end of snooker essentially. Right. Um, that's the end of the podcast. Now, I texted somebody earlier on and I said, I'm recording the podcast. Do you want to send in a voice note and I'll put it in? I haven't vetted this. I haven't listened to it, but there we go.
The kingdom and tea is shit. The kingdom and tea is shit.
Up the kingdom and tea is shit. Okay. Up the kingdom is right. I love tea, so you can go home. Right. That's the end of the podcast, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Tell me what you think of the new microphone. I think I'll be sticking with it because I could invest in a condenser microphone, but then I'm looking at 60, 70 quid, and I've already bought this, and it seems to be working fine. But let me know. Cue the chat at gmail.com. I would love. Sorry if anyone's trying to fall asleep to this. I would absolutely love some emails, some interaction on social media. But yeah, email us, cue the chat at gmail.com. We will be back probably next week. The Welsh Open is coming up, and the Championship League snooker is almost finished. But until next week, adios. We'll see you then. Bye bye.